Nancy Pelosi tells news that in the last few weeks she's never heard from a Republican any talk about eviction moratoriums. Nancy, can you hear? Or maybe she hasn't taken off those Princess Leia earmuffs. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is LA. This is Afternoons at LALATE, our 2-hour programming block that starts every day with a check, then goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and then finally rent eviction moratorium. Really shocking news about from Nancy Pelosi minutes ago in a transcript that I reported first on this channel, obtained by LALATE, in which Pelosi talks about eviction moratorium. It's a little bit troubling because as we sit here today and we wonder why have things not progressed, we also wonder why people can't hear each other. Nancy Pelosi was asked by comments by Mark Meadows, who's chief of staff to the president. She was asked by a series of tweets that Mark Meadows put out today. Meadows has said a lot about Nancy, which I've detailed in the last 7 days. And when it comes to eviction moratorium, this channel has been very, very critical of both parties. And I'm going to get to that in a second, but both parties have really failed Americans because eviction moratorium is such a simple solution. It can be done on a one-page bill. It can be done literally overnight by executive order by the president. He doesn't even need Nancy to do anything. The president's done nothing. The Republicans have done nothing. The Democrats have done nothing. And the problem when we sit here today is these comments by Nancy Pelosi in which she says that she's never heard anything about this from a Republican. Let me tell you what happened. Here we go. Nancy Pelosi convened to talk about her postman. And after she talked about her postman with her flock of sheep in the house, she was interviewed by press reporters. And the reporter asked her about some questions from Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows tweeted out a message to Democrats. If you really want to help Americans, why don't you pass a relief for small business unemployment along with postal funding? But you said you don't want to break things down. You said today that you're focused only on postal service. Exchange continued, and then Pelosi answered. Well, let me tell you, and I've listened to some things said by whatever his name is, put forward. A little shady, huh? He didn't say anything about schools. He didn't say anything about crushing the virus. He didn't say anything about people being evicted. Okay. So that was Nancy Pelosi's comments today. That Mark Meadows in a tweet didn't say anything about being evicted, or just hasn't said anything about being evicted. The way her comments appear to suggest in response to the reporter's questions were that Mark Meadows is not asked for an eviction moratorium. Now, let me give you the backdrop of the question. As you know, as you watch this channel in the last 48 hours, the Blue Dog Democrats, which is a coalition of Democrats in the House and the Senate, and a big coalition of New Age Democrats, which I laugh every time I say that name. I'm like, they couldn't be the trans Democrats or the Progressive House Democrats or the Euro House Democrats, or the New Age Democrats. I love to see their wardrobe. Do they have those furry moon boots and they have the backpacks on the back? They come in. The New Age Democrats. This is like 300 to 400 Democrats. It's not like one person behind a dumpster. It's literally a ton of people. Wrote her a letter, say, hey, you need to do standalone bills. And then there's that guy with that purple shirt yesterday with that Morning's LALATE video where I said, hey, America wants 3 standalone bills, eviction moratorium, stimulus checks, and extension of FPUC benefits. Get it done now. Everyone wants to do it. Mitch, Steve, Mark, Broadway and Chuck. Everyone wants to do this. So the reporter asked her my question, which is like, thank you. The reporter asked her my question. She said, I haven't heard that from anyone. Okay. Perhaps the problem with these group of senators who are lifetime politicians, are all in their 80s, is that they are either not hearing people or they're intentionally not wanting to hear people or rewriting what they did hear. Let's recap. Everyone has talked about eviction moratorium. That's the point. Let's get to the point very clearly. Nancy Pelosi has heard from all sides everyone involved that they want to do an eviction moratorium. No one has never said they don't want to do an eviction moratorium. So I don't know where this is coming from. Let me back up, and I will slam both Republicans and the Democrats right now. The president, 3 weeks ago on a Saturday, I think it was now 3 weeks ago from today, said that, no, it should be the Friday before the Saturday, says, I'm issuing eviction moratoriums to protect Americans so they're not thrown out of their homes. Remember that one where he's at the golf course? And he said it on Friday afternoon. He said the lawyers are taking a look at it. Well, the next day it debuted. We all thought it was going to take 4 or 5 days. It debuted on Saturday from the lawyers in an executive order. President's executive order. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. This is such great news. I mean, I had been reporting this a week before. I'm like, the president has authority to do executive order. He has the authority to do executive order for eviction moratorium. It came out as not an eviction moratorium. It's not. It does not create an eviction moratorium. It didn't create mortgage forbearance. It didn't create anything. So I'm like, okay, maybe he made a mistake. Let's give it a few days. Well, 3 weeks passed, and Republicans slammed it. Democrats slammed it and said, hey, he didn't do anything here. Did he fix it? No. He didn't fix anything. What did he do instead? He met with Mr. Buy Pillow. So that was his focus on the eviction moratorium. Mitch introduced the HEALS Act, what was like 5 weeks ago, and he introduced it on a Monday. The Saturday before it, all the morning TV, news, cable, politics today, interview shows, CBS Morning and Face the Nation and Chuck, whatever, this and that, all had everyone on. They had Pete Navarro and Larry Kudlow and Steve Mnuchin and Mark Meadows. Everyone was on, all different channels, CNN, Fox, and every channel. Guess what they all said? We're going to debut the Republican bill. It's going to have an eviction moratorium in it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Well, when Mitch debuted his HEALS Act, it did not have it in there, which absolutely drove everyone crazy. Today, now 3 weeks later, no one of the reporters have asked Mitch why was it not in there. No one has asked Nancy to comment why was it not in Mitch's bill. And what made it even stranger was that was on a Monday, and that no less than 48 hours later, Steve Mnuchin and Mark Meadows, the president, all said we're going to give you an eviction moratorium. Okay, well, why is it not in Mitch's bill? And that was before the president issued an executive order to give you an eviction moratorium. And when he did, he said he's doing it because the Democrats wouldn't give you one. They gave you one in their bill, but Mitch didn't give one in his bill. So as we sit here today on a Saturday, I'm starting to wonder, is this intentional forgetfulness? They used to call this on Beverly Hills Housewives selective amnesia. Where I don't remember saying that at Camille's lunch. I was at Camille's dinner, and I don't remember saying that about Faye. And then they roll the tape, and like, there she says it. It's like suddenly these people seem to forget things. So Nancy Pelosi's asked, why won't you do an eviction moratorium as a standalone bill? She says, because Mark has not said anything about it. He didn't say anything about people being evicted. I've literally spent 5 weeks of 20-minute videos every single day about eviction moratorium, recapping Republicans and Democrats talking about eviction moratorium. And Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, the leading Democratic position at the moment, unless, Biden wins, saying that she has never heard anyone from the Republicans talking about eviction moratorium in 5 weeks. I don't know what is going on here. I don't know what is going on here as the alarm sounds. It's starting to sound a little bit cray-cray. So, she is 80 years old. She also said, we're 73 days since the election. She said that 3 times. 73 days since the election. She meant 73 days till the election. But I don't know why these people seem to not claim to hear something when all of us have heard it. We're all here. We're actually not in Washington. Many of these viewers are in their car, homeless because of Nancy Pelosi and the Republicans not getting this done. And they have heard the news reports about eviction moratorium. They have heard the statements from Steve and Mark and Nancy and Chuck about eviction moratorium. They've heard it, but Nancy hasn't heard it. Let me tell you how simple an eviction moratorium would be. An eviction moratorium is one page. It's one page only. And it can be done literally overnight. I can tell you how fast you can do an eviction moratorium. Get ready. Here you go. You could do it in 2 days. In 48 hours, the entire country could be prevented from being homeless. How would it be done? Carolyn Maloney, who's very good at writing one-page bills, who wrote the one about the postman, who wrote in a few hours, she can go write it. One page, no evictions until 2021, until the pandemic settles down, whichever is later. Done. She introduces the house, and if you understand how to introduce something to the house, you literally just like put it in. You just, you don't have to like call for permission and have a whole, meeting 5 months later. You just put it in. You put it in. Nancy calls the House back into session to vote on it, which, they could have done it today and said they did the postman. They vote on it today. The Senate could vote on it the same day if Mitch moved a little quicker than, his slow ass does. But they would do it the next day. And the president could sign it later that afternoon. 48 hours. But here's this woman who's $28 million net worth, career politician, and doesn't remember Mark Meadows' name or doesn't want to remember his name. Whatever is his name, what is his name? The guy she saw in a room face-to-face for 2 weeks nonstop, what is his name? Yeah, she knows what his name is. He didn't say anything about people being evicted. Yeah, he did. You would literally have the entire country safe from eviction. I think, and I want you to tell me what you think. Drop in the comments below. This is my theory. People always ask me, what is your theory, LALATE? Because you really cut through the crap. You really, push through all the sea of baloney-ness. What do you think? I think that there are Republicans and there are Democrats that have landlords and banks in their pockets as lobbyists. That they don't want to do an eviction moratorium. They don't want to do a mortgage forbearance because they have lobbyists who are banks and landowners who absolutely are against eviction moratoriums and mortgage forbearance. If you don't know what's happening with that, I detailed that in yesterday's video, that banks and landlords don't want these in place because they want to get the tenants out, and the banks want to take the properties in foreclosure. They don't want to sit around and not have people pay their foreclosures because they're going to go belly up. That's my theory. Why we have not seen something so simple as an eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance, because banks and landowners, lobbyists are pushing members of Congress to not do this. I would love to be proven wrong. I would absolutely love to be proven wrong. But I think that in a day in which we hear a lot of people champion for the small person, I don't think they really are champion for the small person. And here's what also makes me deeply concerned is that Nancy Pelosi in the same comment said that I welcome suggestions from my colleagues and we're all in sync in our caucus. No, her Democrats are not in sync. 500-something Democrats wrote her to do a standalone bill today and get it voted today, and she said, no, I'm not going to do it. Does that sound in sync? It doesn't sound in sync. It doesn't sound Backstreet Boys either. It doesn't sound anything. It sounds like, Highway to Hell in reverse. It sounds ridiculous. What do you think? I just don't think they want to do it. I think that it's a fake presentation, and I'd like them to show us otherwise. And I know that you can hear people saying, well, Nancy has eviction moratoriums in her bill and Mitch doesn't. But when you have 40 million eviction cases on the books currently, when you have 3/4 of the residents in some states currently being evicted, when you have 65% or 75% of Africans and Latinos facing eviction right now, and you're a Democrat and you want to bring out people for voting this fall and ensure mail-in ballots, how do you get your ballots in the mail if you've been evicted? If you want to ensure that you get certain demographics to vote by mail this fall, you better not have them evicted because they won't get the mail. You can trust the postman as much as you want, but they won't get your mail. And then you can also think of the reverse theory, that perhaps Republicans do want people to be evicted, so they don't mail in their ballots, they don't get the mail, it gets lost because they're homeless, and that Trump gets reelected. Ultimately, I think there's a lot more at play here than simply people not hearing people. Because if it was that simple, we would have had this done a long time ago. Drop your comments below. I love to hear your comments. I want to thank you for the last week. Last week we got to 200,000 subscribers in about 3 months. Never in the history of this and YouTube has that ever been done. Our new goal is to reach 225,000 in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, which is 25,000 new subscribers, maybe like 20,000. I think we're already at 205 today, maybe. So I think we can do it. Let's shoot. I want you to share this video on Facebook, share it on Twitter, invite your friends to watch this. Go to the Friends channel, subscribe and hit the alarm button. If you're having problems subscribing, go into in the pinned comment from me. It has a little guidance about how you make sure that you maybe unsubscribe and then resubscribe back in. And then coming up tonight is evenings LA Late. As always, stay informed, stay motivated, stay focused, and stay up LA for more.